Boom, topic 2. And we're live. So, topic 2, hello, and what is it?
Life, or existence.
Okay.
And existence. And we're given that in a human form.
And
I
that's
think
your
it's kind of
interest.
interesting.
Life, yeah, I guess life in general, like your other topic, the natural life is interesting to you, and human life, and I
Right.
guess how it's different, how that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, we're still, you can file us into the animal kingdom, and, we can go even deeper into like a primate kind of like ancestral background to like caveman kind of, and there's like it's just unique in its own way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I find it interesting how different people and different types of people, different people in different parts of the world over time, explained and organized like life as a human, so in forms of like religion and theology,
Yeah.
also culture and agriculture,
Yeah.
and they used all of that to like explain or try their best to explain like not only like where we came from, but also like this is human life, what do we do with it once we're
Right.
on here, like we talked about
Yeah.
that not that long ago. Something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, exactly. And there's certain things that we as people perceive it to be like, oh, like people do this, and that's exclusively a person kind of thing to do. But there's things that you can see in nature once in a while that you go, oh my God, like that organism is doing this thing. Like, for example, there's a certain breed of ants that they treat this other insect as cattle, and they bring it to this plant, and this insect, I think it's like a katydid or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but they bring this insect to this plant that emits this like kind of like nectar, and they ingest it, and their abdomen, this insect that the ants farm, this animal's abdomen swell, and then they like bring that swollen, like filled up insect to the colony where they can distribute that food.
Wow.
They use that as like their food source, or at least one of their food sources. So you think of something as advanced as farming,
Yeah.
which we haven't been doing our whole human existence.
Yeah, true. Yeah, the
Uh,
domestication of wildlife and stuff.
Right. And
Yeah.
you have something as simple as an ant doing it to another thing.
Yeah.
Like you see an ant on the ground, you don't think anything of it as just a pest. It's
Yeah.
just another insect running around. And
Yeah.
like, okay, it lives in a colony, and
Yeah.
whatever they do, they do.
Yeah.
But there's some breed out there that does that, and that's kind of, as we perceive it as humans, it's kind of advanced.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of really interesting.
Yeah, that is
cool,
really interesting.
And you can kind of see things like that in life. I think we're kind of good at observing things. As people, we're good at observing things and kind of like saying like, wow, that works really well. How can I apply that? Another example is owls fly silently. You can't hear them. And it's the shape of their bodies and their wings and even their feathers that give them that silent aspect to their flight. We actually take that shape and create a plane, and that is our stealth bomber.
Yeah.
Has the same shape as that.
That's crazy, yeah.
So like I think there's a lot of problems that we may experience as humans.
Yeah.
That I think a lot of the answers lie in nature. I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
because I think people like to overcomplicate things sometimes, and sometimes the answer's all around you, or right in front of you.
Yeah.
I read something recently that the slime from an earthworm was discovered to kill cancer cells in the lungs.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, weird.
How do they inject that in there?
I don't know. I only
Stand
read
still,
a little bit of
Mr.
it.
Robinson.
Yeah.
Worm slime.
I don't know.
No,
Maybe
it's
they
cool.
put it in the centrifuge thing and separate.
I thought you were about to say they
whatever.
put it in their shake.
Just
Would you like a green shake,
drink
sir?
it, yeah.
What's in this? It's turnips. That's
Yeah.
that's why it's gross.
Yeah. I don't think I'll be putting that in my shake.
No.
Yeah.
I can breathe better now.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's interesting.
But yeah, it is. And I think another cool thing is in Japan they took a mold, which is like a fungus breed. You know about this?
No. Maybe.
And they they created a small model of their subway system,
Oh, yeah.
and they put it on one end, and the mold naturally spread throughout their model subway system, and reconstructed itself to transport excrement and food throughout it the most perfect way. And
That's so crazy.
Japan
Took that.
took that and reconstructed their subway system
That's so cool.
to how that mold did it.
That's smart, man.
And that's even more basic than what I brought up with the ant.
Yeah.
This is something that we know that doesn't have a brain.
Yeah.
The ant at least had a brain.
That's true.
So it's like
That's true.
you look and look and look, and you can find a lot of things in nature.
Nature works.
I think that's so cool.
There's
It's so
things.
beautiful.
There's things in nature that don't. I mean, I don't think I can think of things in nature that don't work. Like in its own way, everything in nature pulls its own weight.
Yeah.
It's not just like, like a guy in a, I don't know, like standing in a library or a train station going like, where am I?
Yeah.
You don't see the
Yeah.
equivalent of that in nature.
No, things aren't. out
And
of
if you
place,
do, they
really.
get like kicked off real quick. I don't
Yeah.
even think they wouldn't even evolve like that.
Right.
So
And us as humans, we're part of it. But ironically enough, it seems like when we go like this and we touch whatever it is, all of a sudden we disrupt it somehow.
yeah,
In some weird way.
yeah,
In most cases.
yeah.
And I think.
Even though we intellectually know more about it than, obviously we're smarter,
Yeah.
so we intellectually know more about it than any other animal on this planet. But we still somehow just like,
Right. So it's ironic in its own way because we're so advanced.
Yeah.
But like everything we touch turns to shit. It's like the anti-Midas touch.
I like that. That's the anti-Midas touch,
Yeah.
and then your cake just explodes.
Us, we're the most civilized and advanced and smartest and this and that and
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But I think we're slowly but surely learning to work better with the planet, little by little.
Yeah.
There might be a lot of cases where I kind of think we take 2 steps back, 1 step forward.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. You know how I feel? I think we are doing well with the planet, but I recently discovered, like, I've just been looking into it, and like nuclear power,
Yeah.
and how we take uranium, specifically the isotope uranium-235,
Yeah.
and then we split it, and that's how we, through process of fission, and that's how we get our heat. Heats up water,
Yeah.
that creates steam, spins turbines, that's how we have electricity.
Yep.
But they take that, and that has a half-life of apparently 700 million years,
Right.
which means it's going to be more than 700 million years.
Yeah.
It will be decaying, which is not good for us. It's
Yeah.
spewing, like, it's waste, radioactive waste, essentially.
Yeah.
So, like, they're finding ways, like in Finland, they're going to put, like, a lot of, I forgot how much, like 73 metric tons, maybe, something around there, like, down in the depths of their rock to keep it there.
Okay.
But other places, like everywhere in the United States, we don't know what to do with it. So we have it in pools that are constantly, the pool of water, somehow it like sucks up the hydrogen, so it finds a way to like, you're safe pretty much.
Right.
But what if like something happened and then all of like humanity, or at least this country, goes boop, then
Yeah.
there's different parts all over the world, Japan, the USSR. Well, it's not the USSR anymore. Russia.
Yeah.
Here, Canada, like we can't maintain that. So therefore, the water flow will stop, and then it will start to melt down, or at least leak in the area. I find that crazy. And you know what? You know what's crazy is that nature will still find a way to like get past that.
Chernobyl.
Yeah, true.
Like,
Yeah,
they didn't expect when it happened so long ago, the 80s,
yeah,
that they didn't expect like things to be growing there and
that's true.
to be doing kind of okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Like nature in that area is like apparently doing really
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Birds are doing great.
yeah. Grasses and
Wolves,
plants.
plants are like
Yeah.
doing amazing. Like
Yeah, that's
as
really
if
interesting.
there's no radioactive history. There's
Yeah.
no nuclear problem
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
So,
that is weird.
Yeah. It's funny, like, you'll hear people say, like, oh, like, save the planet, you know, and it's
Yeah.
like, we should kind of change that to, let's save ourselves.
Yeah,
Not in a selfish way,
yeah,
because we can only live in this environment, but we're changing it
yes.
to the point where we won't be able to live in this environment.
That's a good point.
But the Earth will continue to do what it has to do.
Yeah,
It's going to keep being
yeah,
the planet, and
yeah.
and life on it will still find a way somehow.
Yeah, I used to work with someone who said like global warming will work itself out because if we extinct ourselves, then it'll just start reversing.
Yeah.
And the planet will be fine.
And it has a history of having
Of doing that, those
grand
extreme
extinctions.
Yeah, that's
you know?
true.
Everybody
That's-
thinks, oh, the dinosaurs. That's the big one. No,
Yeah.
the big one actually, that wasn't even the big one. Because like when the dinosaurs died and everything in that whole time period, that was like only like, I want to say half the life forms on Earth died or something
think
like
so,
that.
something
Maybe
like
a little
that,
bit
yeah.
more, less,
Yeah.
I don't know. But I remember, I think it was like the Devonian period or something like that,
Uh-huh.
where like 90% of life on Earth,
That's
life on Earth,
crazy.
we're not just talking animals, plants, fungus,
That's crazy.
animals, bacteria, 90% of it died.
Yeah. Wow.
And then it came back,
Yeah.
and then it died again.
Yeah.
When
And then the Ice Age
The
was a
Ice
big one
Age.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, you have woolly mammoths and saber-tooths and Neanderthals, which were specifically like for that environment.
Yeah.
And then that
Yeah.
so like what looked like an apocalyptic thing actually wound up breeding all new life. And then unfortunately when that apocalyptic thing, the Ice Age, left, then so did that life, you know?
Yeah.
Like the woolly mammoths and Neanderthals.
Yeah.
Which apparently if you do 23andMe, like those chromosome things, there are
Yeah.
some people who have Neanderthal traces in them.
Really?
Yeah.
It's said that like Homo sapien and Neanderthal
Yeah.
came across each other.
That's crazy.
And, like-
And apparently they made it.
Right.
It's two different species.
But like we're still considered Homo sapien.
Yeah, we are, yeah,
Yeah.
but Neanderthals are not.
Right.
Like they're not. They're a separate.
Yeah.
They came from Homo erectus, but
Yeah.
they're like humanoid,
Yeah.
but they're not like what we would call a human being, like our
Yeah.
modern thing,
Right.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
So there are people who are not truly human among us. They're a special breed.
Yeah.
It's a sixth sense.
I guess you could say that, right? Yeah. Yeah, life finds a way.
Yeah.
Like what they say in Jeff Goldblum says in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
It's true though.
But he also says it really interestingly.
Yeah.
Life
yeah,
finds a
in his
way.
yeah, in that Jeff Goldblum
Style.
yeah, yeah.
I wish he came up with an audio book. Or like a cookbook in audio format. Take the 2 eggs and you notice that they're hard on the outside, but soft on the inside. Crack it and put it in your stew. Yes, yes.
Yeah, and it just goes to show that with persistence and I don't know, with the most adaptable organisms do what they think or do what they have to do.
Yeah.
You know? And you know, it's like you think of like struggles and things like that, and you know, it's just a matter of adapting.
Yeah.
And that's the most successful organism.
Yeah. And they're not even thinking it. They're just,
No.
it's just happening.
It's life.
Yeah. It's almost like intuition or instinct, we call it, that the animals have.
Yeah.
That's why I've been trying to focus more and do more from intuition, actually.
Right.
Because like you talked about like how humans, we have the anti-Midas touch and yet we're so intellectually superior.
Yeah.
And so I kind of think like if like this is great, the front cortex and the logical part of our brain, but the problem is like it over complicates sometimes and like
Sure.
You know, so like,
Sure.
you know, you know my thing. Like sometimes I just try to surrender because like that means like I'm not fighting against the current of life.
Yeah.
Life is going with it, and therefore I'm like, oh, okay, this is good. It takes me on a place where I, you know, probably couldn't have gotten to if I over complicated everything.
Right.
You know.
This kind of leads into one thing I did really want to touch on before we close out this segment, and it is, we said like life and or existence. And one thing I think that's kind of overlooked a lot of times is feelings, thoughts, and ideas. Even though they can't be perceived by all of our senses, they have a place.
Yeah.
And we're constantly giving birth to them and creating a place for them. Or maybe it's vice versa. Or maybe it's both.
Oh, yeah.
So when you have these thoughts, feelings, and ideas, maybe somebody put it there, you know, plant that seed in their head. You hear people say, oh, you planted the seed in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, there's something to that use of language, that use of words. You know, so thoughts, feelings, and ideas, we can't perceive them like with our senses, like, you know, taste, touch, smell, sight, but they're very much real in our human existence.
Yeah.
So it's just, that's something really interesting.
Yeah.
Because a lot of our human existence is in that existence itself.
Yeah.
Feelings, thoughts, and ideas.
Yeah.
And you travel with that vision, you know, that scope of life.
Yeah.
And you can see that with certain people.
Yeah.
This person's, hey, how is that person? Describe him. Oh, he's cool, nice guy, you know, pretty happy, positive, this and that.
Yeah.
You're getting two observations there. One, who that person's describing, and two, what that person is perceiving them to be.
The person who's telling you about
Right.
the other person.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's something to take in mind
Yeah.
whenever you're having that interaction with
Yeah.
that person
Yeah.
about something.
That's so true.
Because that's their filter that they're passing on to you.
Yeah.
Now you have your own filter and your scope, and you can decide what to take from that
Yeah.
and have your own experience.
Yeah.
But that's still going to have some sort of effect on you
Yeah.
in its own way.
Yeah.
And your perception of them as well,
Okay.
you know?
What do you mean by that exactly?
Like
Like if someone comes up to me and I don't trust this person and they start telling me some things about
so then
something.
you're not going to really maybe
Yeah.
really believe it all
Yeah.
that much, you know?
Yeah. But then if someone else that I like idolized or looked up to said
Yeah.
some things, I would be like, okay, yeah, and I'd probably take it all in.
Right.
Yeah.
And that idea of like that life and existence, it's not just something physical and organic in a way.
Sweet. Yeah, you were saying? You can
It's,
finish up.
there's more to life than just what the senses can take in,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. We talked about that recently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that's a really cool part of life,
Yeah.
you know?
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, quick summary of, I guess, of this topic, because we always touch on a lot of things. So,
Yeah.
what do you think the main interest in these subtopics were?
Life is a human being,
Cool.
and its connection with Earth and all the other living things on it. And, you know, you can even say to, you know, our solar system and everything else like that. But our more direct connection to our world
Yeah.
and the world that's going on in here. Which brings us to our last couple minutes were on feelings, thoughts, and ideas.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that was my favorite part of that talk. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. And we'll be back with the last one.
Awesome.